He offered shelter to a desperate alien girl, but what happened in his room shocked him. The night was unusually quiet. Rain pattered gently against the roof of Ethan's small countryside cabin, its rhythm a comfort to a man used to loneliness. He had moved here after his father's passing, escaping the noise of the city and the endless demands of people. Out here, among the whispering pines and wide-open skies, he thought he had finally found peace. But peace was shattered the moment he heard the knock. At first, he thought it was his imagination, the storm playing tricks. Then came another knock, sharper this time, urgent. He grabbed the lantern from the table, opened the creaky wooden door and froze. Standing before him was a girl. No, she was not entirely human. Her pale silver skin gleamed faintly in the rain. Her eyes an otherworldly shade of violet, glowing faintly even in the dark. She wore a torn garment that clung to her like a second skin, and she trembled from cold and exhaustion. "Please," she whispered, her voice like music wrapped in desperation. "They'll find me if I stay outside." Ethan's instincts screamed at him to slam the door. Whoever or whatever this was, she didn't belong here. Yet something in her eyes held him still. Fear, vulnerability, a quiet plea for mercy. Against better judgment, he stepped aside. "Get in before you freeze," he muttered. The girl stumbled in, dripping rainwater onto the wooden floor. Ethan shut the door quickly, as though sealing her from the dangers of the world outside. Inside, she stood quietly, hugging herself, shivering. Ethan handed her a blanket from the couch. She accepted it, wrapping it tightly, her hands shaking. "Who are you?" he asked finally. "And what are you doing out here in the middle of nowhere?" She hesitated, her violet eyes flickering toward the window as if expecting shadows to emerge from the forest. Then softly she said, "My name is Lyra. I'm not from this world. They were hunting me. I escaped." Ethan blinked. He wanted to laugh, to call it a lie, but the evidence was before him. Her skin wasn't painted silver. Her eyes weren't contacts. The faint humming in the air around her was real. "You're saying you're an alien?" he asked, half skeptical, half terrified. Her lips trembled. "Yes. I don't want to harm you. I only need shelter. Just for tonight." Ethan stared at her. He had spent his whole life reading about extraterrestrials in pulp novels, imagining first contact. Now one stood in his living room, soaked and trembling. Against all reason, he sighed and rubbed his temples. "Fine. You can stay. But only for tonight." Her relief was palpable. She almost collapsed onto the couch, her eyes glistening. "Thank you." Hours passed. The storm outside grew heavier, thunder rumbling over the hills. Ethan gave her food, bread, a little soup, water. She ate with small, careful bites, as if each morsel was foreign but precious. When midnight came, Ethan finally led her to the spare room down the hall. But when he offered it, she shook her head, her voice low. "No, please. Don't leave me alone. They'll find me in the dark." There was that fear again, raw and childlike. Ethan exhaled and gestured toward his own room. "Fine. But stay on the other side of the bed." Lyra nodded quickly. They lay down in the dim lamplight. Ethan on one side, tense as a coiled spring. Lyra on the other, her glowing eyes dimming as exhaustion overtook her. But as silence stretched, Ethan noticed something strange. A faint vibration filled the air like a pulse. He turned his head. Her skin was glowing faintly, patterns etching themselves across her arms, lines of silver light, shifting and curling like constellations. Ethan sat up in alarm. "What's happening to you?" Lyra stirred, eyes fluttering open. She saw his shock and quickly sat up, clutching the blanket to her chest. "I didn't want you to see," she whispered. "It happens when I'm near someone who shows me kindness. My body responds. It reveals my essence." Her voice trembled. "Where I come from, kindness is rare. They hunted me because of what I am. 'Cause I can bond. My energy connects with others, heals them, strengthens them. To them that power is dangerous. To me, it is only a curse." Ethan felt a chill crawl down his spine, but also a strange warmth in his chest. The glow from her skin filled the room, gentle and radiant, casting away the shadows. "Bond," he repeated. She looked down, ashamed. "It's not something I choose. It's instinct. I can only bond with someone who truly means to protect me. And once it begins, it cannot be undone." Ethan stared at her, his mind racing. He hadn't asked for this. He'd only opened the door to help a stranger. Yet here she was, her light wrapping around him, making him feel, strangely, whole. The storm outside broke with a crash of thunder. Suddenly, voices echoed in the forest. Distant, mechanical. Ethan froze. Through the window, faint beams of light swept between the trees. Lyra's eyes widened in terror. "They found me." Ethan grabbed the rifle from beneath his bed, though he wasn't sure what good it would do against whatever was out there. He turned to her, seeing the despair in her face. "Listen to me," he said firmly. "You came to my door. You asked for shelter. And as long as you're under my roof, no one's taking you." Her violet eyes glistened, tears slipping down her cheeks. She placed a trembling hand over his, and in that instant, the glow from her skin surged. Energy rushed through Ethan like fire and wind, filling his limbs with strength, sharpening his senses. His heartbeat thundered, not from fear, but power. The hunters drew nearer. Shapes moved among the trees, armored and relentless. But Ethan stood at the window, rifle in hand, no longer just a man. Lyra's energy thrummed through him, making him something more. "They won't stop," she whispered. "Then let them try," Ethan growled. The cabin shook with the storm, the hunters circling outside. But inside, two unlikely souls stood together. A weary man and a desperate alien girl, bound by something neither of them fully understood. What shocked Ethan most wasn't her glowing skin or her alien nature. It was the realization that, in offering her shelter, he had found something he hadn't felt in years: purpose. And no matter what came through that door, he would fight for it. The first shadow slipped against the glass. A visor glowed red, scanning. Ethan's finger tightened on the trigger, but before he could fire, Lyra's hand gripped his arm. "Wait," she whispered. Her glow intensified until the whole room shimmered like a living star. The light spilled through the window, flooding the night. The hunters staggered back, shielding their eyes as if seared by the brilliance. Ethan gasped. The warmth surged through him, not only strength but clarity. He saw their faces, cold, faceless soldiers who had forgotten compassion. And he knew, they weren't here for justice. They were here to cage what they feared. With a roar, he flung open the door. Rain lashed down, but the hunters froze at the sight of him standing there, wrapped in her light. He raised the rifle, not as a weapon but as a warning. "She stays here," he said, his voice booming with unnatural force. "You want her. You'll go through me." The soldiers hesitated, faltered, and then, one by one, they vanished into the storm, their lights retreating into the endless forest. When silence returned, Ethan shut the door. His heart pounded. He turned to Lyra, who sagged with exhaustion, her glow fading.